it's Kara Dixon with Candid with Kara, and we are doing our interviews virtual because we are all stuck at home due to the coronavirus pandemic. So today we are talking to Alissa Baldwin. Yes, got it. How are you doing today?
I'm doing well, and yourself?
I'm doing okay. It's kind of rainy out, so I'm a little sleepy, but other than that, okay.
That'd be a good day to curl up on the couch with a good book, right?
Yeah, I kind of did take a nap during work today. Don't tell my bosses, but
the flexibility of remote working.
No one is here, so I can take a nap. So, all right.
There have been some studies that say napping gives you increased productivity during your waking hours.
Yes, it really does. So, all right. So, what are you running for?
So I am running for the Republican nomination for U.S. Senate in the June 23rd primary election that's just around the corner.
All right. And who is Alissa? How would you describe yourself to people that don't know who you are?
So I am a regular citizen. I am just a normal person, a native Virginian, a civics teacher. So I work with 8th grade middle schoolers, teaching them about our Constitution and our republic that I treasure so greatly. And then I'm a Christian constitutional conservative, very involved in community service and helping to give back to others in need. And just kind of that citizen leader has always defined who I am and what I do.
All right. And why are you running? Like, what was it that you were just like maybe sitting at home one day and you're like, that's it, I'm going to run? Like, what was that moment like for you? Like, what happened?
Right. So I've grown increasingly frustrated by the career politicians and the number of individuals who, start off saying, oh, I'm going to represent everybody. And then they go to DC and they get sucked in, it seems, and forget about us and just focus on their special interest and their big donors and then stay there forever and a day. And that's not what our founding fathers and mothers intended for it to be. It was truly supposed to be service and then go back to your normal way of doing life. And so I had this kind of awakening that if not me, then who? And if not now, then when? Because I do know the Constitution and I do understand what our federal government should look like and the value that we the people have as, the fourth unofficial branch of government. And so I set forth on the campaign trail to kind of blaze new trails and make a little history in the process. Which has been very exciting just to be a champion for everyday people who are underrepresented in DC.
All right. And what are some of your platforms that you're running on? What are the things that you're passionate about that you hope to kind of get accomplished when you get elected?
Sure. So I have several key public policy passions. Chief among them would be education reform, since that is the bulk of my professional experience, but also advocating for gun rights as women's rights, as human rights, as the way to protect all other rights. And then healthcare costs have gotten really astronomical and out of control, and people should be able to shop around and have coverage that meets their needs and get those prescription costs down. And we can do that with a free market system and deregulation at the federal level, which I think is so important.
All right. So are you ready for the rapid fire questions?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. Let's get to them. First question. I have them memorized by now, so.
Okay, I bet.
First question. Or do I have them memorized?
Ooh.
Oh, I know. Okay. First question. What is the biggest issue our country is facing?
Okay. So in my personal opinion, as a candidate seeking elected office to represent this country and specifically the Commonwealth of Virginia in the U.S. Senate, I think our biggest problem is lack of balance. In the world that we're living in right now in America, everybody tries to paint it in these broad strokes of, Democrat or Republican, economics or public health. And it's really like we're on this tilt-a-whirl ride instead of embracing our differences and finding the commonalities to help solve real problems that real people are experiencing every day. So I think that's our biggest problem is lack of balance and an unwillingness to talk about those issues.
All right. Second question, kind of like the first one. What is the biggest issue Virginia is facing?
Okay, so I think the biggest problem our Commonwealth is facing currently is that we've become a follower and not a leader. And if you know anything about history, Virginia was very influential in the early days with the colonies and taking a leading role in shaping the federal government that we've got now. And I think we've taken a step backwards in that aspect, and we need to continue to be innovative and entrepreneurial and a great place to raise families and start businesses. And so I think that's kind of the biggest problem, is that we've become a follower and not a leader in that regard.
All right. Third question. If you're elected, what do you hope to get accomplished?
So as I shared, I've got several public policy passions that I would hope to implement and make some strong reforms and changes there. But at the end of the day, I really hope to restore a sense of trust in our elected officials, that they can be servants of the people that they were elected to represent, and bring with that integrity, transparency, and just a new way of doing business, and discarding politics as usual, because I think it's yucky and no one wants to be a part of it anymore. And yet our civic duty to be involved is more important than ever before.
All right. Next question. What can Virginians do to make our state a better place to live in?
So there is so much that Virginians can do to make this a better place to live and to work. And it starts with doing our part. Right? So if we each do something in our neighborhood, in our communities, then we can have that magnifier effect. So whether it's helping a neighbor in need, or picking up cleaning up your own mess, picking up trash, as a Girl Scout for many years. And if you've never picked up trash on the side of the road, everybody should pull a stint doing that, because it is a labor of love and service to your communities and to your state. But I think all of those little things add up when you're able to give back, whether volunteering or just being helpful in those ways. And so I would encourage all Virginians to do that, and it makes your corner of the country a little brighter.
All right. Next question. What is your favorite book?
So this is a tough one for me, because I love to read. I am a voracious reader. And so, aside from God's Word, which has influenced my life in obvious ways as a member of the faith community, I have found in the recent years a series of books by John Gordon to be very influential on me personally and professionally. And so it was The Energy Bus, and The Power of a Positive Team, and The Power of Positive Leadership. And I believe it was Henry Ford who said, if you think you can or you think you can't, you're right. And so John Gordon kind of builds on the power of attitude and a mindset to embrace the day and get the work done, because we all have things each day that we want to do, that we're excited to do. And then we all have things that we're like, oh, I'd rather do anything but. And yet we still have to take care of things. And so those three books have been very positive influences as far as recent reads. But other than that, anything by James Patterson or David Baldacci, and I'm good.
Yeah, I don't think I'd be able to answer that question. I can't. I read a lot too, so that's
yes, it's tough. All the bookstores struggle to keep up.
yeah, it's bad. I have so many in like my to read pile. Like I have the physical copies, I have the ebooks, and I'm just like, ooh, another book came out. Let me buy.
That's right. And I like ebooks, but there's something about having a book in your hands and being able to turn the pages. It's very, very fulfilling. It's a sense of accomplishment, right?
Yeah. So
yeah.
Selection. Next question. If you could meet anyone in history, who would it be and why?
Okay, so I would say George Washington. I think anytime you have someone that's going first, they have, no shoes to fill, except they're setting the parameters for what that role looks like. And so, certainly as the first president of our country, he was a pioneer and reluctant in that role. Didn't see himself as a leader, didn't feel particularly skilled as an orator, and yet people trusted him. And he had a good heart and wanted America to succeed in their newfound freedom from Great Britain. And so I think he would be very interesting to have conversations with. And, how did you make it work when you've got that humble servant's heart, but, you've got an important role to facilitate as leader of the free world.
That's been our most popular answer this season, is George Washington.
Really?
Yeah, everyone
nice.
likes it. I don't think we had it last.
Well, now I feel like I should change it.
We had 3 of them. 3.
Okay.
So
yeah,
he's a cool person to read about. And yeah.
Yes.
All right. And then the last question, when you were growing up, what did you want to be and why?
Okay, so I remember leaving kindergarten, and it was back in the days when we didn't have kindergarten graduation, right? There was only one graduation from school, and that was your high school event, which I feel really bad for the class of 2020, missing out on those capstone events right now. But when I left kindergarten, I was very full of myself and told my grandparents, my grandmother in particular, that I was ready and able to live my dream and be a first grade teacher. And she said, wait, what? And I said, well, my kindergarten teacher has assured me that everything I needed to know for life, I learned in kindergarten. And so I'm just going to stick with first grade, and that'll work. And then I won't have to keep changing and experiencing all of these new things year after year. And my grandparents were like, it doesn't work like that, honey. So from second grade on, I really committed to studying the law. And was fascinated by rules and law and order, and this fundamental principle about the rule of law and how that works. And so I thought, okay, I'm going to do everything extracurricular activity wise and school wise in terms of academics to grow up and be a lawyer and really help shape policy in that way, and help people in their time of need. And then didn't get into law school. So I had to do something different, and have been a teacher and enjoyed it in the years since. But growing up, it was all about, the law and being pre-law in that mindset.
Is there anything you've been doing while staying at home, like any new hobbies, or, what do you?
So I love to read. So I've been doing a lot of reading, but a lot of that lately has been more with current events, obviously trying to stay informed and make sure that others can have a voice. And I think the more well-read and the better you're able to understand people and where they're coming from, and make those connections and have conversations, which is what's going to bring America back from the difficulties that we're facing right now. And I love to sing, but surprisingly, I haven't done much of that lately because all my neighbors are home too. And I'm not sure they want to come to the concert with Alissa Baldwin. So uninvited or not, they would be a featured guest. So I've done a little less of that. And a lot more with digital campaigning and trying to still connect with people in very real, powerful ways, but without that physical contact and personal presence, which is tough.
Do your students know that you're running?
They do. I was unable to keep it a secret, and so middle schoolers, they're gonna Google you. And so they found out, and then of course they found out the party affiliation, and they were like, we're the first ones to know what you believe in terms of politics. And I was like, yeah, that's true. No one else has ever figured it out, because as a conservative, my job is to teach you, not to indoctrinate. And I've been really diligent about doing that, and focusing on the Constitution and not my own personal ideologies. But of course they've been very supportive, and they're rocking the hashtags on social media, Baldwinning 2020, and getting their parents registered and involved. And I think that's awesome. And they're already kind of living the teaching that I've presented, and holding me accountable to stay in the fight as well, and be transparent with every step of the journey, from campaign finance to political presence and speeches and late nights and early mornings and everything in between. Because of course I've still been teaching this whole time. Wow, yeah. And balancing both, my day job and the campaign trail. But I find it very energizing anytime that I can connect with voters and with other citizens of the Commonwealth. So that's exciting.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, I'm trying to think. 8th grade government, I had Mr. Gordon. I can't remember what he taught us, but I do know if you ever said anything very dumb, he would write it on the board. Like, he had his own board.
Oh,
so it would be there for about like 2 or 3
legendary quotes, but not in the good way.
And I remember I got put on it one time, and it, like, some people would do them, say things like that they thought were funny so they could get on the board. So we would all try.
That's right, because you want to be famous.
Yeah. So we would all try. And then one time I said something that wasn't like, I didn't even think it was dumb and it wasn't funny. And he wrote on the board. I'm like, that's why.
Wow, no, I want to redo.
Yeah.
Give me something better to put on the board. Well, and it's funny because my kids will tell you, like, at the end of the day, the 3 words that we probably say the most in my classroom would be "we the people."
Yeah.
And I don't know if you remember the Schoolhouse Rock song featuring the preamble, but, it starts off with "we the people." And I found several different fun editions that, kind of have a backbeat and a little more bass and a little more contemporary feel to it. But the original song remains. And it's tried and true that these are the purposes of government, and we've got the power and have to make decisions and accept responsibility for those decisions. So, now I'm just kind of taking those lessons out on the campaign trail, which is even more exciting and humbling, quite frankly.
Why should people vote for you? What makes you different than the other people you're running against?
Sure. Well, I am definitely not a politician. I am very much just an everyday citizen trying to live her teaching and make the Constitution of then the Constitution of today, and prove that it can be relevant so that we can resist this move towards socialism, which I find scary. Because I've learned the value of a dollar and hard work and an honest day's pay, and rewarding that because of having a strong work ethic. And I think that's where we need to be, and not incentivizing staying at home, which has been my concern with the pandemic response. And how do we find that balance between public safety and keeping people employed and in business and businesses open. So I'm definitely an outsider. I'm someone that you can relate to, someone I hope that you can find, you can trust. My faith, my family, my freedom are all very important to me. And I'm not going to bend to the will of DC lobbyists and special interests. They can keep their dark money. I have no interest in taking it. I want to, do my part and leave a legacy of service above self. And I think that Virginians would welcome that as a very refreshing change to someone that has been there for a long time and done not a lot of good for Virginia, and in fact, in some cases, done some harmful things in terms of legislation. So they can find out more, excuse me, voters can find out more at alissabaldwin.com. So my name all smushed together, ALISSA Baldwin.com. And of course, we have social media presence: Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Twitter. Although I'll never have as many Instagram followers as my students, because I usually screen them and make sure they're real people and not robots. But different generation.
Have they given you any tips for social media?
Oh yes, they're very clear that they like my hashtags and my phrases, and I need to continue to use those to bring in new followers. Yes. So, and you know what? They're right. That's how you can connect, is using the different hashtags to find people with similar interests. And so but yeah, every day is a new day, and as a lifelong learner, they're teaching me stuff, which has been great as well. But yeah, that's what people can get with Alissa Baldwin. And I've said at different points in this campaign that it may now say Alissa Baldwin on the ballot for the June 23rd primary, but it really is representing we the people, taking back our power, our authority over the government, and trying to get back to its constitutional principles and boundaries. So that's what I'm looking forward to doing.
All right. Well, thank you for joining us today.
Yes. Well, thank you so much, Kara, for having me on. I appreciate it. I wish we could be fishing or boat riding or something more adventurous.